While quarantine is being lifted across the country, we here at Thick Men Inc. are still scared to go outside. We've been huddled around our computers watching YouTube videos. We've gotten so bored that we decided to make a YouTube video of our own. A mere 5 months after the trend died down, we are here to make a tier list video involving all the quarterbacks who will play in the 2020 NFL season. And we've ranked them based off 6 tiers. 1, Blaine Gabbert tier, the worst of the worst. You don't want to be there. Second, backup tier. You're serviceable. You can come in and play a few series and a few downs, but if you have to play long periods of time, your team's in trouble. Young and unproven, self-explanatory. Just some guy, self-explanatory. Game changers. A player who impacts the game to a drastic degree, whether that be positive or negative. And then GOAT tier. These rankings will not be based off quarterbacks' careers. They will be based off the current 2020 season. And starting things off, we have a man whose name I can barely pronounce. Tua Tagovailoa. I think it is safe to say that he is young and unproven since he has not played a single down of football yet. And he has potential to be a game changer one day, but given his injury history, also could find himself in Blaine Gabbert tier. Any thoughts on that, Tristan?
I for once, me and you agree. I agree for much different reasons. I think if the hip injury never happened, if he was as hyped up as everyone believed coming into the draft, never had the hip injury, finished the year out strong, I think there's a possibility we could put him even up higher on this list, given how well he performed in college. But with his hip injury, no one can truly say they know what's going to happen with him. You can't put him anywhere else than young and unproven because of his injury, in my opinion.
Very wise, very wise. Second, the man worth $100 million, Jared Goff. And I've thought long and hard about where to put Jared Goff. Tristan and I probably agree on this one too. I'm leaning towards just some guy, but I could just as easily go backup tier. Because Jared Goff has had quite the career. He's played for too long to be young and unproven. But at the same time, he hasn't been abysmal or awful. So I think just some guy is about the right spot for Jared Goff. Maybe on the low end of just some guy.
You can't put him below just some guy. You can't put him as backup either. He has had a decent career. He's been to the Super Bowl. He has 87 touchdowns, 42 interceptions on his career. Is he criminally overpaid? Yes. He's, I think, the third highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
He's a rich man.
But he also has Sean McVay as his coach, who's regarded one of the best young coaches in the league. Some overrate him, some say not. And during his Super Bowl season, he did have Todd Gurley, who was in the running for MVP. Was he the Offensive Player of the Year? I don't know.
I believe so.
For me, other quarterbacks, I think Dak is very much like him. Dak is probably...
Hey, spoilers.
I'm not spoiling anything. He's a lot like Dak, but anyone who puts him on Wentz's level, in my opinion, is high.
High, you say? On the drugs?
On the coke.
Well, we here at Thick Minig don't believe in doing drugs. But a man who has been very high, very hot, very talented, Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray is the most dynamic quarterback from his class. He has already come in, had an impact, won his team games. And I think you could say he's young and unproven, but he had a great rookie season, and then he acquired one of the best wide receivers in football. So to me, he is going to be a definite game changer this upcoming season.
It's hard for me to... I want to put him higher than just some guy because I don't think he's just some guy, and I think he's going to be a lot better someday. But when you look at his stats, they're not the most impressive last year. Yes, they were very good. He did put up good numbers last year. But he also had some down spots where he didn't throw touchdowns for a few games. I think the biggest thing you can take away from his season last year were his games against the 49ers. They barely lost both games. They were his 2 best passing games from the whole season, and that was the 3rd best defense, 2nd best, 1st best, however you ranked them personally.
We call that just the best defense, not the first best.
I mean, his best games came against the 49ers. They lost by 10 points in one game, 3 points in the other, when he had one of the worst rosters. So I want to lean towards just some guy just because he's so young, but I'm okay with you putting him in game changer because I do think he has a potential.
Hold on. You can't say just some
high
guy
end of just some guy.
He is He is an incredibly impactful player. Would you give me that?
Yes.
The most impactful on the
But also,
Arizona
I don't know
offense by far.
where the other players I have in Game Changer, if I'd be willing to put him as good as him.
He is definitely on the low end of game
Yeah, I'd
changer,
agree with
but
you there.
even some guys who we may think are better than him, he has more of an impact on the outcome of a game.
That is true.
Next up, we have old Big Ben Roethlisberger, the man who is working to overcome his addictions. And he is certainly not young and unproven. And while it's tempting to put him in Blaine Gabbert tier, given his past, I think it is safe to say that over the course of his career, he has regressed down to just some guy and even could find himself in the backup tier. And it's hard to tell. He got injured early last season. His numbers the year before weren't bad, but they weren't Pro Bowl Big Ben we've been accustomed to seeing. I don't think you can reasonably call him a game changer maybe 10 years ago, but not now. But by body of work and based on the fact his last healthy season he put up decent numbers, I think he belongs in just some guy. I'd even go as far as say maybe ahead of Jared Goff, but I'm flexible on that.
I mean, like you said, he's had a very storied. He made the Pro Bowl 6 times, 2-time Super Bowl champ, coming from the draft class of Eli Manning and also Phillip Rivers. I'd say at this point he's probably the best one left, considering Eli has retired. And
he was the best one when Eli was still playing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Also, Phillip Rivers threw 20 interceptions last year, so that doesn't help him out too much. But last year, both games he started, he lost. He threw 1 interception, no touchdowns, and 70 not many yards. So maybe the shaving the beard off will help him out. He's got Juju. He's got what's his face in the backfield from Pitt. Can't remember his name right now. But he's got elite defense. So I think the Steelers are going to win games. But as far as his talent level, I have to, unfortunately, agree with Isaiah again.
Now, I'd say that he's worse than Jared Goff at this point in his career. Would you disagree with that?
I don't think so. All
right. You don't think so? We'll leave him there.
You can always change it at the end.
We'll change it. We'll mess it up.
We're an elite tier list maker.
A controversial pick will be Tom Brady. And you look at Tom Brady and you look at his impact on football, his legacy, and his legacy is clear. He belongs in GOAT tier if this video is based off legacy. But this video is not based off legacy. And to me, Tom Brady has regressed to the point. His most impactful thing on the football field is the mystique and the swagger he brings around, the culture of winning. And while that could make you say game changer, I think he is going to be the peak example of just some guy. To me, he can be anywhere from the 8th to the 14th best quarterback in the league. And he's not a system quarterback, but he's not going to beat you with his arm deep, and he's not going to beat you with his legs, and he's not going to be a dynamic passer with the ball like he used to be. So to me, he is probably the ultimate just some guy at this point in his career.
As much as I may be the biggest Tom Brady hater, and as you know, being a Giants fan, the Giants beating him twice, I just don't like the Patriots. I don't like him at the end of the day. I'm going to have to disagree with Isaiah here. I think he is, in fact, a game changer still, and not because of his arm talent. He had a 60% completion percentage last year. Keep in mind, I think the Patriots receivers led the league in drops, so that can be explained a little bit. But he only had 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He wasn't special by any means last year. But what he brings to the Tampa Bay locker room, the respect he's going to players are going to have for him, the leadership he's going to bring, the experience. I think just that, the way he's going to lead the Buccaneers, the offensive talent he has around him makes him a game changer, in my opinion.
So do you think we have to put Big Ben up a game changer? Because he's got that same respect. He's got that same mystique. He's got the accolades. He's a Super Bowl champion twice over.
Yeah, but Big Ben is coming off a major injury to his throwing elbow. And he wasn't looking too great. Like, Brady still went to the playoffs and still put up respectable numbers and had the receiving core that dropped the most balls last year.
So you want to put him a game changer?
I think at the end of the day, he's low end a game changer.
He can be the gatekeeper of game changer. He can be, if I could find a way to put him in between spots, I'd do it. But we'll put him, he's the gatekeeper of game changer. You've got to be better than Tom Brady. I clearly think Kyler Murray's got the edge on him right now.
As far as exciting and ability to make things happen on the football field, it has to be Kyler Murray.
I'll ask you this before we move on, because Tom Brady's a controversial pick, obviously, but how many quarterbacks do you think you could substitute in at Tom Brady's position and see the same number and the same amount of success in Tampa Bay?
I don't know.
I think it's at least 10.
Probably.
It's probably way more.
But as far as who he is, I think he's low end a game changer, probably.
We'll leave that there for the time being. Next up, Baker Mayfield had a great rookie season, broke the rookie touchdown passes record, did not start all the games. Had a rough sophomore campaign, second most interceptions to Jameis Winston. But he had Freddie Kitchens as his coach and an internal war brewing between him and the offensive coordinator. He is the definition of young and unproven. After this year, we may move him around, may make a different video for this, but right now, clearly young and unproven.
I was full on the hype train coming into Baker Mayfield's second year. I was full because they got Odell. They had so many different offensive weapons. But at the end of the day, Baker Mayfield shit the bed last year. He did not play well. I think he threw a lot of interceptions. Of course, like Isaiah said, they had Freddie Kitchens. But he didn't have a good year. This was after his rookie year, you'd see me putting him in game changer. But because his second year was
borderline worst offensive line in the league, by the way.
That is also true. But because his second year was so much different from his first year, he's unproven because he hasn't strung together multiple solid seasons or really shown that he can go to that next level. But I don't think you can put him just some guy either because he had such a good rookie season.
Indeed. Maybe after his memorable campaign this following season where he leads the Browns to the Super Bowl, we'll put him up here and maybe even up here. But right now, clearly young and unproven. Speaking of young and unproven, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but Sam Darnold in a terrible situation with Adam Gase as his coach and everyone demanding out. And he's very close to winding up here and may even wind up here by the time his career is done because he was the third overall pick. But based off situation and youngness, I think he belongs right there next to his pal Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. When you're playing for the worst team in New York and you have Adam Gase as your coach and you're seeing Ghost versus Bill Belichick and throw 5 interceptions, you're going to have some trouble. To be fair to him, out of his if you take away the 5 interceptions, he only has 8 interceptions on the year, which isn't too horrible. His completion percentage...
Worst team in New York went 7-9, by the way. Better than the real worst team in New York. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
He went 7-6 last year as a starter. Historically, the worst team in New York, I would probably say.
Don't cry. Keep talking.
But at the end of the day, he's unproven because he hasn't made any big moves. He went 7-6 last year, had a few horrible games like the Patriots game. So if he's with the Jets, his career may waste away, but the future will only tell at this point for him.
Have to wait and see. Someone whose future's already played out a bit, Tyrod Taylor, had a nice little run in Baltimore, had a decent run in Buffalo, took them to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. They got clapped. It wasn't a good time, and now he's was backing up Phillip Rivers, now probably backing up Justin Herbert early on, and I think we got to leave him a backup. He could see himself playing some meaningful minutes if Herbert's awful, but...
He's probably going
Tyrod
to start, I think,
back.
The first few games.
Yes, but that's where he belongs, and you know that's where he belongs.
I'm going to agree with you. I think he's a definition of backup. Some people like to hype him up as if he's a decent starter, could start for any team. But when you look at the years he did start with the Buffalo Bills, who had an okay roster, he went 7-6, 7-8, and 8-6 as a roster. And then he gets moved off of for Josh Allen, who was pretty electric in the playoffs last year, running the ball and almost coming back at the last second. Then he goes to Cleveland, where Baker takes his job. We see what Baker's doing now. And now he'll be competing with Bo Callahan's lookalike on the Chargers. So you have to put him... He's a career backup at this point. When you've been to so many teams, you can't be regarded as a starter, in my opinion.
Indeed. Stars are starters, and Tyrod Taylor is no star. Young and unproven, we got Dwayne Haskins. Terrible situation, much like Sam Darnold. But has above upside too. Big arm talent, big personality, young and unproven.
I was just about to say, I think he definitely goes below Tua at this point.
Hold on. Wait a second. I'm not going to say someone's unproven more than Tua. Like, maybe Burrow, we think is more of a sure thing. Catastrophic hip injury and has never played down football in the NFL. Haskins' last 4 weeks were really good.
He threw 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. That's not what I call really good.
Did you look at his last 4 weeks, or did you look at the games he came in, started with virtually no experience of getting snaps? Because
why don't you enlighten me with his last 4 weeks, Isaiah?
You want me to look up his last 4 weeks right
Well,
now?
you're
You want me to
referencing them, so I
consult
figured you
the
had
wiki?
them right
You
in
want
front of
me-
you.
I, as a matter of fact, do have them right in front of me. Would you like to hear some numbers,
Give me
Kristen?
some numbers, Isaiah.
Among rookies, highest completion percentage last 4 weeks. Among sophomore quarterbacks, second highest completion percentage in those last 4 weeks. Minimized his interceptions, played real defenses, and had some
Played real
meaningful outings.
defenses.
He played the Giants.
He played
so
the
that's an asterisk.
Giants
That's a
and
trash
Phillies defense during the last 4
The
weeks.
Eagles had a good defense. What do you mean?
They did not
kid?
have a good defense.
They had a good
Their corners
defense.
weren't their
man.
corners in the fucking hospital.
No, they weren't. They still had Fletcher Cox too. You're ignoring him. He also, want to look at his last 4 weeks, had 1 interception against the Green Bay Packers on well over 100 attempts, or just that's
Eagles
just
are
under
middle of the road, but towards the top middle. So
Packers defense team, which went to the AFC Championship game. Panthers defense. Okay, I'll give you that one. That's not a good team. But still, he put up good
he played the
numbers his last
Giants and the
4 weeks.
Panthers
5
defense, which are
touchdowns,
2
1
of the 3
interception.
worst defenses in the NFL last year as far as points
Packers
given up.
weren't a bad defense, and the Eagles weren't a bad defense. Like, you're making stuff up because they're in your division, and you don't want to be wrong. And that's
Whatever.
okay.
I mean, we don't disagree on young and improving.
Yeah, we might.
This is
edit
not a
some of
hill
that
to die
out.
on.
Yeah, maybe you can die on it. But speaking of the old and proven, we have Aaron Rodgers, and you can call Aaron
Blaine
Rodgers a
Gabbert.
clubhouse cancer. Yeah, Blaine Gabbert, move on. Okay, Matt Ryan. No, okay. But Aaron Rodgers, he has an argument for GOAT tier, except he's always pouting and never really. He's won 1 Super Bowl, and when you have the talent of Aaron Rodgers, you can only blame your coaches and administration for so long. He's probably a high tier game changer because any given week he can drop 4 touchdowns and 500 yards on you, but he has not elevated his game and been consistent enough to earn GOAT tier.
Over the course of his career, he's GOAT tier, but I mean,
No, he's not.
yes, he is.
No, he's not. He's
On the
borderline top
of the
5.
quarterbacks we have on our list, but because it's 2020, he's a game changer. Last year, he doesn't throw interceptions because he's Aaron Rodgers. He only threw 4, but he only threw 26 touchdowns and had 4,000 yards passing on 26% completion percentage and got pretty embarrassed in the playoffs. So
in the NFC Championship game.
yeah, I don't.
How embarrassing.
I think he's going to be below a bunch of game changers for me, but I still think he deserves being a game changer tier, especially since I have Brady in the game changer tier still. And he's also the king of Hail Marys, so which
King of
crushed
Hail
my
Marys.
Giants at one point.
They were going to lose that game anyway. But anyway, back to Matt Ryan, former MVP, former Super Bowl runner-up, part of the most infamous moment in Super Bowl history, 28-3. And he used to be that guy. He no longer is that guy, but at the same time, you can't call him a backup, and you can only call him Blaine Gabbert in the final 20 minutes of the Super Bowl. So he's just some guy. I'd say he's definitely better than Goff and Big Ben at this point.
I think he's better than both those two right there. He's a definition of above average QB. He won an MVP at one point, but he also had Julio Jones. I think Devonta Freeman, was that a year Devonta Freeman went off also? He had
Yes, that was the Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman
but
year.
he also had Kyle Shanahan that year, and look what he's done since Kyle Shanahan has left. He's been relatively unimpressive. So overall, above average QB with one historic MVP season in which he choked in the Super Bowl.
More so his team choked.
But
He hasn't been bad.
along with if you
Yeah,
give up a
hasn't been
28-3 lead as a quarterback and you can't put up any more points, there's a problem there also.
Threw 35 touchdowns in 2018.
Which is why
Wouldn't call that unimpressive.
yeah, but you also have Julio Jones out there.
Julio Jones doesn't really catch that many touchdowns compared to the other top guys.
That's true.
But moving on. Gardner Menchu, young and unproven. I'd say he's proven more, though. It's similar to Baker Mayfield. I'd say him and Baker Mayfield would be very similar if Mayfield hadn't had that disastrous sophomore season. I'm willing to put him above Darnold based on upside and relatively low interceptions numbers with a mediocre roster. Fumbles are concerning, but when you prolong plays, that's bound to happen. I'm putting him in young and unproven.
I'm sorry, Isaiah, but I have to disagree with you on this one. Minshew is, in fact, a serviceable backup. He put up very good numbers last year, but in my opinion, out of all the rookie quarterbacks, which we ranked in a video, check that out if you haven't already, I think he's got the lowest ceiling when you watch him play. It doesn't seem like there's many things for him to fix. Yes, he's got good numbers, but he lost his job to Nick Foles, then got it back, and it looks like the Jaguars are now tanking for another quarterback and don't believe in him. if your team doesn't believe in you, it's safe to say that you probably aren't a starting quarterback in this league. And I think he's.
Let's be clear. You think a quarterback who went 6-6 with a terrible roster, with a team which is falling apart, threw 21 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in 12 games as a rookie is a backup.
I think he's a very
and you
good
don't think
backup
he's
quarterback.
He's young and
He's
unproven.
very much like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is a career in between. You want him as your backup, don't want him as your starter.
Yeah, this is why I said you couldn't control the tier list. Idiocy like that.
That's not idiocy.
It's his second year. He had a good first season, and you're calling him a backup.
I think you
don't understand football.
Or I'm just saying it to piss you off.
Speaking of pissing people off, Jimmy Garoppolo, big contract Jimmy. Took his team to the Super Bowl last year on the backs of an elite defense and running game with Kyle Shanahan. Proceeded to lose the Super Bowl with a few embarrassing interceptions late to a Chiefs team which wasn't performing at peak efficiency, but was Tom Brady's backup, so a lot of questions here. I'd say he's just some guy at this point. High-end, just some guy. Better than Goff, obviously, and better than Big Ben. You can't say he's elite and a game changer. He just hands the ball off a lot.
He's not better than Goff and Big Ben. You can't.
He's better than Big Ben. I'll give you Goff. I ain't giving you Big Ben.
I mean, he's 21-5 as a starter, but he was with the Patriots, one of the greatest coaches of all time, behind
the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, the greatest coach of all time. Behind what most people say is the greatest quarterback of all time. And then he's on the 49ers, where he plays behind one of the best offensive minds of this generation, who made Matt Ryan look like an MVP. And I think Matt Ryan's definitely better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, no one's saying he's up here. We're saying he's down here with the dogs, with Goff and Big Ben.
Yeah, I know, but
you're telling me you'd rather have an old man Big Ben with a broken shoulder and a broken arm and a broken everything and a broken will and a crippling porn addiction over Jimmy Garoppolo's young, handsome,
well, is his porn addiction current,
shaven.
or was that a thing of the past?
Does Big Ben look like a guy who could move on from such a thing?
I don't know.
Just
People change.
People change.
He's low end.
Drew Brees.
I think he should be below Big Ben, but that's just my
He's
opinion.
at the low end already. But Drew Brees. This pick's going to piss people off. I would have given you Drew Brees as a game changer if I had not watched last season. But Drew Brees is a system quarterback at this point. He is a very good system
that has
quarterback.
A 74% completion percentage. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. He's a system quarterback. If you call Tom Brady a system quarterback, which you've done in the past, you have to call Drew Brees a system quarterback. Because the routes which are run by his receivers, who they have very good receivers, and the run game they have in Kamara, and the threes out of the backfield,
Michael Thomas.
Yes. And Taysom Hill, you have to say he's a game changer.
I apologize for my co-host stupidity.
So you're saying the Saints don't have good receivers besides Michael Thomas?
They don't. Not last year.
You're saying they don't have good receivers.
Unless you're going to count Alvin Kamara as a good receiver.
Emmanuel Sanders was on the team last year,
No,
Tristan.
he wasn't.
Are you an idiot?
Emmanuel Sanders is on the 49ers.
Are you an idiot? Hold on, let me consult this real quick.
He's the one in the end zone, misses Jimmy Garoppolo's pass. He's on this.
Let me check this something. That's Emmanuel Sanders. Hold on. Oh, wait, that's Deontay Harris. Hold on.
Yeah, oh my.
Okay, we're going to press pause there. Wait a second, they got Traquan Smith and Jared Cook. What the fuck are you talking about?
They're not special.
I think you don't appreciate. Would you like to call Drew Brees a game changer?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you a hypothetical. What teams could you put him on where he'd put up the same numbers? Or is it just the Saints he'd be able to have this much success?
Basically any team. He affects the game in a more so than you giving him credit for.
He's very impactful, complete side percentage of pass. But I would rather have...
He impacts the game
all my
and
game
elevates
changers.
his team. Like, when have the Saints ever been bad with him on the team?
The multiple seasons they were 7-9 in the middle of Drew Brees' prime. Those seasons?
Yeah, but that's not bad. That's still 7-9. That's having a bad roster with a quarterback elevating you to 7 wins.
You're high. You're saying, oh, that's not bad. If I was saying, oh,
well, it's not bad for the
7-9,
team, but it's a quarterback that's elite.
It is bad
has
for the
all
team.
the records. You're pissing me off.
You're
pissing me
saying
off.
GOAT accolades, which he does have. He could be GOAT tier for doing that, but you've got to move Brady up and you've got to move Rodgers
No,
up if you
not
want to do
GOAT
that.
accolades.
That's not how we're going to do this.
He still
You're
affects
saying
the
that
game
based
on
his
an
body
elite
career.
level, and I think he should be above Brady in game changer.
I completely disagree with you. We'll watch next season, and when Drew Brees falls off, or again has a
We'll
system
revisit
season,
this list for all our
we'll
loyal
revisit
viewers.
this list. All right, next up, who do we got here? Let me take a squint. Oh my goodness, it's Stat Padford. And Matthew Stafford has earned himself some rough nicknames over the years. Parents shouldn't have named him Matthew, I guess, but he's got elite numbers. But the Giants never win anything.
The Giants never win anything?
The Giants never win anything. The Lions also never win anything. But he was in the playoffs. Well, he had Calvin Johnson as his team's best player. But I don't know why I'm bringing him back up here. Because he belongs down here next to Matt Ryan.
Said a lot of butts there.
Yeah, I can't say he's better than some of the games. He's obviously better than Goff, better than Big Ben.
See, I think I agree with you in just some guy for starters. But I think I would put him above Matt Ryan because even last year he threw 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions before he fractured his neck.
It's another reason he's just some guy, though. He fractured his neck.
He's got a bazooka for an arm.
And he's got a wet noodle of a neck.
I don't know. I think he's just some guy. I would put him above Matt Ryan, but if you're going to put it below him, I'm not going to.
Well, I'll ask you this. Who has an MVP and who's been to the Super Bowl?
Matt Ryan, but he also has played on better, more talented teams.
Who's had maybe the best receiver of all time?
Julio's pretty damn close.
No, he's not. If you or someone bring up a Julio Jones when you're talking about the best wide receiver of all time, you laugh at that person. You point and you laugh.
And point and laugh at me, Isaiah.
Ha ha ha. Next up, young and unproven quite possibly, but he might not be there for long, Joe Burrow. We can't say he's a game changer when he hasn't played it down. I think he will be. I think he'll be a mid to high game changer by the time it's all said and done. I think he's Brett Favre without the turnovers. But I am willing to put him above Haskins. Not these other guys because they've had more NFL time, but Haskins did have a cumulative rough rookie year, even though his last 4 games were very promising. Obviously above Tua due to lack of injury and more success, if we're being honest, in his collegiate season. Best college season passing ever. Any issues with that?
No, I completely agree. I mean, he had 2 rough years statistically in college and has one of the best statistic college seasons ever. I think right where you have him is also where I would put him.
Right where I am. 2 rough statistical seasons. Some context behind those, but we're not going to get into that. Then we have Mitchell Trubisky, the Carolina product, who has single-handedly taken the Bears to the playoffs and would have taken them to the Super Bowl if Cody Parkey hadn't double doinked it. Clearly GOAT tier. All right, moving on.
Shut the fuck up.
This is our first Blaine Gabbert tier. He has some of the worst accuracy within 20 yards in NFL history, particularly of someone who's been given his starting job in his roster. The Bears have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it's being wasted because of this man. I have faith that one day the Bears will be decent again, but I can't see it being while Mitchell Trubisky's on the field.
At face value, I kind of feel bad for Mitchell Trubisky because at face value, his stats are 63.4 career completion percentage, 8,500 yards, 48 TDs, 29 picks, 800 rushing yards, 7 rushing TDs. Doesn't look that bad. In 2018, he was even a Pro Bowler. So, but when you look at last year, they don't make the playoffs when your defense has ungodly amounts of talent. Eddie Goldman, Khalil Mack, Amos, the other safety, I can't think of his name right now. But their offense was the 4th worst in the league. So when your offense is the 4th worst in the league, you're wasting away what is Allen Robinson's talent, because Allen Robinson could be a much more prominent receiver in this league if you didn't have Mitchell Trubisky throwing him footballs.
Blake Bortles. Can't forget about Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles? Sorry.
You forget where Allen Robinson was before he
Oh,
went
yeah,
to
Blake
Chicago.
Bortles. Allen Robinson's career has been wasting away, so I feel bad for Allen Robinson. I agree that he's definitely Blaine Gabbert tier.
Yeah, that poor millionaire. Next up, we have Phillip Rivers. And Phillip Rivers has a long and storied career. Been to the playoffs a whole lot. Very successful on the Chargers. Probably a Hall of Famer. Better than Eli in the regular season, but playoff time just couldn't get it done. Having said that, I could put him here as just some guy. But being honest, I look at the other people I have here, and I think there's a clear distinction. He had a terrible season last year.
I mean,
And that season alone was so bad that if it was his only season, you'd put him down here in Blaine Gabbert here next to Mitchell Trubisky. But based off body of work and the better offensive scheme he's in Indianapolis, I've got to move him to backup. He could find himself out of the league next season. It's a 1-year contract. I don't know what's going on in his head.
was it that bad last year to put him in backup though for you? Because I mean, we have Ben Roethlisberger and just some guy when he didn't even play last year. Essentially, he played 2 games.
Well, yes, he was hurt, though, and he's also a sure-thing Hall of Fame quarterback who had a good year beforehand. And if we're looking at Phillip Rivers, did he really have that great of a year?
He didn't, but I mean,
2018?
23 touchdowns, 20 picks, which isn't pretty to see. He throws a lot of interceptions, but he still completed 66% of his passes and had an 88.5 quarterback rating, which is not the worst in his career. So
Tristan, you looking at stats and reading them off to me is why, in fact, I have questions about your knowledge of all sporting events. The reliance on stats is how you
I'm
get
not
burned
relying on
and
stats,
draft
Isaiah.
people. You're relying on stats. It's a crutch. I don't care.
It's
I don't know how else to say it. People without the big, giant, rigid brain that I have, they rely on
because you made
stats.
so many good
I got the eye
analytical
test, baby.
points there, and because the eye test is so. I mean,
He looks tired, grumpy, and washed up, and he moved to Indianapolis. Who wants to live in Indianapolis?
well, he moved there.
Andrew Luck didn't.
Because he's got
Peyton
probably
Manning
one of the
didn't.
best offensive lines and future Hall of Famer at guard there. So
Say his name, Tristan.
Quentin Nelson.
There you go. I was losing faith.
You didn't think
there.
I know
You didn't
Quentin?
Quentin.
I know way more than you think I know, Isaiah.
Well, I'd gotta hope so, or you'd be about the sentience of a rock.
Fuck you.
But moving on, another reason
No, you got to
that
put
I
him
am
in
in charge
low end of
the
just
list.
some guy.
I can't do that. He had threw 20 interceptions last year and looked terrible. He's a backup.
All right. I mean, he's going to be a starter this year, but
Okay, who else is going to be a starter this year is going to wind up in backup? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, we have a pick which will irritate Tristan no end. As Josh Allen. He is
not
as
a
far
game
down on
changer.
game changer as I can put him, and I'll tell you why. Josh Allen is so dynamic in the run game that he can change games. That is the definition of a game changer. He's got the passing stats of just some guy, but the legs of Cam Newton. It's crazy.
not
His running
quite
style,
the legs of
his
Cam
ability
Newton.
to catch touchdowns in the playoffs. He's got all that. He's got all the intangibles. He's got all the other stats. And he's on a great team, and he's going to have success with Stephon
Well,
Diggs. He will be a game changer for 2020.
Part of playing the quarterback position, Isaiah, is passing the football. And he's 15-12 as a starter for the Bills, and he has a 56.3% completion percentage. You have to complete passes to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Now, I think
Tell that to Josh Allen, who took his team to the playoffs while, quote unquote, not completing passes.
I mean, a big part of the reason people thought the Bills were going to lose was because of Josh Allen. And I will say, he is an elite running quarterback. He needs to not take as many hits and put his head in as risky as a position that he did that one game against the Patriots. You can't be taking those hits. But because of where his passing is at this point in his career, I think he can go special places. For me, I'd have to put him right now at the high end above all the quarterbacks and just some guys.
Same number of touchdowns as Kyler Murray you've got there. Less interceptions. Again, he is still developing.
Kyler Murray
He's
played
young.
on a much worse team.
He is young and still developing. Also, you cannot name me the Buffalo Bills wide receiving corps. I at least know that Larry Fitzgerald is on the Cardinals.
There's that white guy from the Cowboys.
Ah, yes, that guy you can't name.
Cole
Beasley
Beasley.
is who you're
I
thinking
said
of.
Cole Beasley right as you said Cole Beasley.
I said Cole Beasley before you, but it's okay.
No, we said it at the same
If
time.
you can't see that Josh Allen changes every game that he's in, you don't understand
For better or
football.
for worse?
For better or for worse.
I mean, you
Speaking
said
of
he's
for better
low
or for
end.
worse,
Is he going to be your lowest end of
he might
game
be the
change?
gatekeeper. I'd honestly put him above Brady because he has more of an impact in terms of on the field stuff than Brady will. But Brady's got better mystique, which gets him up to game changer. I think he's definitely going to be better than Phil next year. I don't know what to say about Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers. But speaking of Tom Brady, we got Nick Foles. And Nick Foles is one of the few men to lead a team to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. A rare feat to accomplish.
Yeah, only Eli and Nick Foles belong in GOAT tier of quarterbacks all time, if we're being honest.
Two mediocre quarterbacks. But then you look at his time with the Jaguars, and you can say he was hurt, which he was, but they gave him the reins back, and he still stunk. And based off his career body of work and his time spent at other teams, I think Nick Foles is the best backup in football history.
I mean, I definitely... When you have played for 4 teams in the last 5 seasons, you can't be called anything other than a backup. He hasn't started that many games in the past 5 seasons compared to a lot of other quarterbacks. I agree with Isaiah. He's the best backup in quarterback history. He won a Super Bowl. He performed when Carson Wentz went down, but there's a reason they kept Carson Wentz over Nick Foles, and there's a reason he's been on so many different teams.
Yeah, a nice little duo there, Mitch and Blaine.
I forgot he was on the Chiefs, by the way. That's one point.
Well, he's on the Bears right now, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of backup tier and Blaine Gabbert tier, we have this young man, Josh Rosen, the man who said there were 9 mistakes ahead of him on draft night, I seem to recall. Went to the Cardinals a year before Kyler Murray got there and secured them the number 1 overall pick. His successor, as you can see, is viewed very well by us. And I pity this man to a certain extent. The Cardinals were a terrible organization to play in. They had no direction. Their coach was awful. It felt like David Johnson, the best talent they had, was being wasted on 2-yard runs up the middle every play with a terrible offensive line. I'm saying terrible a lot because that's how bad this Cardinals team was. But his time in Miami also wasn't amazing, and he lost the quarterback battle to Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's played for long enough where he might be Blaine Gabbert tier. I think I've got to put him there. I've got to inflict the suffering.
He's in Blaine Gabbert tier, and I think you even put him below Mitchell Trubisky, because Mitch has made a Pro Bowl. He's made a Pro Bowl. When you are 3-13 as a starter and lose a starting job twice, that is not a good sign for your career. I do not care how much Colin Cowherd said he threw the prettiest ball in his draft class, because that's all I remember hearing Colin Cowherd saying about him, and that's what a lot of people are saying about him.
You might have listened to too much Colin Cowherd in 2018.
I've said from the beginning Rosen was going to be bust, and if the Giants drafted him, I'd be pissed. And I think when you lose your starting job twice, you lose it to Fitzmagic, a career journeyman, you got to be in Blaine Gabbert tier.
Hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick's had some good stretches there.
Also,
but yeah, he's pretty bad. Blaine Gabbert tier. Maybe the worst quarterback on this list.
Going back a second.
Watch, he's going to go to the Patriots and set passing records. He's going to wind up there next season.
Going back for a second, I think you need to put, even though he's the greatest backup of all time, I think you need to put Phillip Rivers above him because of Phillip Rivers' career.
Well, it's 2020, not the body of work. Phillip Rivers would be up here if we were doing it based off career.
No, I know, but it's whatever.
How many Super Bowls does Phillip Rivers have?
0.
Exactly. How many Super Bowls does Nicholas have? Exactly. Get out of here, man. Speaking of quarterbacks without Super Bowls, Jarrett Stidham. He is the definition of young and unproven.
Blaine Gabbert. Don't even give me that nonsense.
We've barely seen him play, and he will wind up getting placed at some point.
Wasn't his first pass an interception or something like that?
Yeah, but so was Brett Favre's.
I mean, he also got worse every year of his career in college, so that's also not a good sign.
College stats don't matter in the NFL.
While I agree, it's not a good foreshadowing.
We have not seen him take over the reins, and the reason he's at the bottom of young and unproven is because he's had the starting job perceivably yoinked away from him by Cam Newton. He's got to be down here. I can't see him going anywhere else. You could say he's a backup. You can say he's Blaine Gabbert, but until we see him play, we can't go otherwise. Next up, we have Action Jackson, the definition of a game changer, but he is not simply a game changer. He is our first member of the GOAT tier, a tier which very few men will have. Probably should have put an S on the end of that, but whatever. Lamar Jackson had one of the best sophomore seasons any quarterback has ever had, the best rushing season a quarterback has ever had. And his team only got better, and he's only getting better as a passer. He is going to be an amazing quarterback for years to come. At least 10 years of great play, all-pro level play from Lamar Jackson. Battles between him and Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship games will be legendary. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady-esque even.
The only thing holding Lamar Jackson back right now is his inability to get it done in the playoffs. I mean, against the Chargers, he didn't look good at all. The Chargers put 6 DBs on the field and decimated him. Against the Titans last year, they got pooped on. So
Some of that is Harbaugh's fault, I'd say, because he was throwing the ball way too much. Like, they went away from what made Lamar Jackson special. He's a great throwing quarterback.
And they put too many receivers on the field and took all the tight ends in the field and took every snap from shotgun.
They didn't give him coverage to run because they got.
I don't know what was happening with their play calling.
Down on them. Derrick Henry was happening.
I think
Harbaugh saw Earl Thomas get stiff-armed in the arms of a woman of the night. And just gave up on play calling.
What do you think about the Madden curse, though? Will that come into effect?
You know how it affected Patrick Mahomes?
That is true. Exactly. Well, he did get injured.
Oh, yeah, and he won the Super Bowl MVP, too.
I mean, Lamar Jackson, a one-of-a-kind talent, 54 touchdowns last year, 63.7% completion. So Bill Polian, who said he was a wide receiver, you were obviously wrong. Good for Lamar.
Good for Lamar.
Pat on the back.
Next up, we've got Andy Dalton, who has found himself he'll be a starter a little bit. Oh, wait, Dak signed his franchise tag. No, he's going to be a backup. He thought he was going to get to play. The kid, Andy Dalton, was under the impression he was going to be free of the Cincinnati Bengals and get a real team to run. Instead, he has found himself in a backup role for the Dallas Cowboys, praying that Dak Prescott chips a nail or gets too hungover at one of his parties to participate. He is a backup. He had a few promising years in Cincy, then it kind of all went to hell when the team fell apart. And now he's on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think he's a backup also. Not many points to argue with there. I have to agree.
Next up, we have Jameis Winston. You can say Blaine Gabbert here, 30 interceptions, but he also 30 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. You cannot deny the fact that for the good or for the bad, that Jameis Winston is in fact a game changer. No one will disagree with me on that.
He definitely changes the game in some way, especially when you throw 30 interceptions.
Indeed.
That being said, he did get given up on by his team that drafted him number 1 overall. So that takes away from him a little bit.
It's Bruce Arians, though. Like, Bruce Arians is the one who gave up on him.
He's the one who also wanted him.
Let's be honest, Bruce Arians does not have much patience for quarterbacks who cannot learn the playbook, which is extremely complicated in 1 year. And they got Tom Brady.
That is true.
Jameis Winston is the definition of a game changer, for the better or for the worse.
Yeah, and he got eye surgery, so, that could help him out.
Baby. We have a combo picture here, the combination of our friends Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky.
Looks like they're about to kiss.
They're about to be about to kiss. And when you have one bad quarterback starting for your team, you're in trouble. When you got two bad quarterbacks fighting for the starting job, you're in real trouble. This combination will result in Blaine Gabbert tier level success for the Bears. They're going to win 5 games max because they're going to have a QB battle in a lost locker room.
But that goes above just Mitchell Trubisky on his own.
Does it, though? Because Mitchell Trubisky won a few games.
I think it goes above.
I think they're going to win less games with this quarterback combo on the field.
Yeah, Bears fans are pissed off that they didn't get Cam.
I would be
too. They
get
a skinny, white, elite backup quarterback.
The elitist of backup quarterbacks. I'd rather have just Mitchell Trubisky than Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. Going to be a bad time in Chicago. The Bears are going to be in tears. Next up, we have Daniel Jones. And as much as I want to put him in Blaine Gabbert tier, he has shown some real promise. He has shown real concern with his fumbling problem. But obviously he's got a lot of potential, but he's still unproven after 1 season. So I'm going to put him in young and unproven. And I'm going to put him ahead of Darnold. And if I could put him and Minshew on top of each other, I would.
I mean, you can't.
But I can't, so I won't.
I obviously think that he's better than Minshew. I think he's the best quarterback from the 2019 class. He had scored the most touchdowns last year. The fumble problem is real, and it is fixable. But I'm not. If you want our opinions on that, check out our other video.
If he stops lathering his hands in butter and puts some glue on them instead. Maybe he needs to wear a glove in his passing game like Teddy Bridgewater.
Danny Two Gloves.
Danny Two Gloves. Man, that's terrible. I would not want that to be my quarterback. Speaking of which, Teddy Bridgewater, starting quarterback for your Carolina Panthers. And he has quite the career. He's made a Pro Bowl in Minnesota. He was undefeated as the Saints starting quarterback. But at the same time, you look at his numbers, and he may be a winner, but he's very average. He is just some guy. I'd put him above Ben Roethlisberger because I feel like I know what I'm getting in him. You don't know what Big Ben's going to give us. You can't say that you do.
Yeah, but even Teddy Bridgewater's best season where he went to the Pro Bowl, he only threw 14 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Yes, he may be safe with the ball. He was safe with the ball last year with the Saints and won 5 games, but he doesn't do anything to elevate his team. Ben Roethlisberger, in one way or another, he's either going to go big or go home. So that's why I think Teddy Bridgewater
go home, open his laptop up, put his search on private.
Teddy Bridgewater, in my opinion, is the low end of just the definition of low end for just some guy.
We'll put him below Big Ben, but I'm not happy about it.
Panthers fans rejoice.
Panthers fans rejoice. You do not have a backup. The opposite of a backup is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson never gets MVP votes. Never really has that crazy of an offensive weapon set around him. Still may be the best quarterback in football. I'd say he's the best quarterback.
You're putting him in
NFC
game changer?
Safely. I'm putting him as the best
and not GOAT with Lamar Jackson.
No, he's not GOAT with Lamar Jackson. Lamar whooped his tail last year. He is the definition of a game changer.
He belongs in GOAT tier below Lamar Jackson.
Doesn't.
Yes, he does.
He is not as good as Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson.
You're doing what everyone in the NFL, everyone in the media does to Russell Wilson all the time, and that is underrate him. The man has been to 2 Super Bowls, and if they hand off
on the back of his defense, both those times,
not on the back of his defense.
Legion of Boom, baby, LOB. If the Legion of Boom was not there, he wouldn't have been there. Also through the Super Bowl costing interception. You are making me detract from Russell Wilson. I'm saying he's probably the 3rd best quarterback in football right now.
So you're only going to put 2. Well, I mean, there's only a few left, and there's only one obvious choice.
I'm going to let you look at the people we have left here.
Well,
and tell me who is better than Lamar Jackson. I wonder. It could be Dak. Could be. Get out of here.
You have to no. He's got to be in GOAT tier.
He's not.
I know it's this year, but even if it's this year, he's more than ever elevating his team. The Seahawks roster wasn't exactly that good last year. The defense wasn't that great. The running backs were absolutely atrocious because everyone got injured, and he threw 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and was in the MVP conversation.
Did he get any MVP votes last year?
No, because Lamar Jackson got all of them because he had one of the best regular seasons for a quarterback ever.
Yeah, exactly. There is a gap between him and Lamar Jackson. But he was in the MVP right now. If you
There's a gap, but he's also in the GOAT conversation.
He's not in the GOAT
conversation. If you ask 32 NFL owners, there's definitely someone who takes him over Russell Wilson.
There's going to be how about this? For the one season, you asked if they're going to take Lamar or Russell. They're taking Lamar 31 times. And that one owner, it's the Giants owner. And as we've seen in the past, they can't evaluate quarterbacks.
I'm just shaking my head.
I can't give you free reign, Tristan. You know the list would look whack. I'm at least spicing it up a bit.
The list would not look that much different. It would just look slightly better.
It'd look pretty whack. Now, Cam Newton. This is a difficult one. Because for all the reasons I highlighted Josh Allen and
if you're putting Josh Allen in game changer, you have to put Cam Newton in game changer.
I want to put Cam Newton in game changer. That being said, Cam Newton has a lot of question marks. I'd say more question marks than Big Ben. He has signed a $1 million prove-it contract with the
$500K guaranteed. He's getting paid less than he's getting paid less than CJ Beathard.
He is the lowest paying quarterback on this list, probably. Guaranteed, at least. I think Rosen
he is the lowest paid on this list.
I'm not sure about rookie contracts.
No, he is. He's getting paid less than CJ Beathard right now, as far as guaranteed money.
Beathard.
I don't know if I pronounced that right.
$7.5 million in total incentives. There's a reason for that. Cam Newton is a big question mark right now, and I don't know the answer to it, and no one knows the answer to it. If they can have Tom Brady, who I can't do this. I cannot do what I have to do. Tom Brady is a high end of just some guy.
No.
We're going to make that distinction. Yes.
You agreed and conceded that earlier.
I did not concede that.
If you're moving
would
Tom
you
Brady
rather
down,
have Cam Newton? I would rather have Cam Newton over Tom Brady. You can either have Cam Newton and game changer, you can have them both down here. Or you can have the preconceived order.
If you're putting them both down there, you have to put Josh Allen at the high end of just some guy.
I can't put Josh Allen here because we actually know Josh Allen is healthy. Also, I've got Jameis Winston in game changer.
Yeah, but I kind of just could see that because I didn't feel like having that stupid argument.
He has an impact on game. We do not know what impact Cam Newton is going to have on games.
You have to put Tom Brady.
Look at his first 6 games. And say, oh, look how great he was in 2018. It's 2 years ago.
You're going to get us bullied in the comment section if anyone watches this video.
The comments bully us. Tom Brady's not a top 5 quarterback right now. He's barely a top 10 quarterback.
You have Jameis Winston, who's going to be a backup next year, above Tom Brady and Cam Newton.
I'd be again, if Cam Newton was healthy, he'd be a game changer. If Tom
And
Brady
you have
wasn't
Josh
old,
Allen, who
he'd
completes
be a game changer.
56% of his passes in game changer. Yes, he's elite
Josh
running
Allen's
the
a game
football,
changer.
but he's a high-end just some guy. And there's also...
I want you to look at who I've got up in game changers, Tristan.
I am.
You see a common trend? With the exception of Drew Brees and Jameis Winston,
And you say you didn't trust me to do the tier list when you're making moves like this.
I'm sorry, but Tom Brady's not a top 5 quarterback. You can make the argument he will be better than Josh Allen next year. It's a very real argument to make. But at the same time, he's just not as good as him in terms of playing football. He might be a better passer, not as good a football player, not as good a quarterback.
You know what, man?
You want to just put people in there because of mystique? Get out of here, man.
You're
this
something else.
This is a playoff,
You are something
baby.
else, you smooth-brained individual.
That's nice, no. Got Patrick Mahomes.
We don't even need to talk about it, do we?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football right now. He gets his buddy Lamar and him are just chilling up there. Patrick's flexing on Lamar because he just won the Super Bowl. Then we have Dak Prescott.
Blaine Gabbert tier. Just leave it. Move on. Move on.
Yeah, okay. No, Dak Prescott, while he has got big money, is, I feel, at the same point Tom Brady is in his career in terms of talent. Brady's got better receivers. Dak Prescott may be a smidge better. They're going to have more success in Tampa Bay than Dallas, probably. But I'm giving him the nod over Matt Ryan because I have no faith in Atlanta and no faith in his success. I know Dallas is going to win at least 8 games. I know Dak Prescott will.
I'm actually changing my mind and coming around on Tom Brady being just some guy. And I'm coming around on Cam Newton being just some guy. And I am the biggest Dak hater there is. I do not think he's an elite quarterback. But I do think he should... Yeah, I'm conceding the points to you. You were right about Tom Brady and Cam Newton. Okay? Because I think Josh Allen is better than Dak Prescott. I think Josh Allen's the lowest of the low ends on Game Changer.
Well, I've got Jameis Winston in there.
Yeah, but he's kind of, there's an asterisk next to him.
To be fair, Jameis Winston changes the game more than probably any... We're just kidding. 63 touchdowns and interceptions.
But there's a big asterisk next to him. But I would
put that,
even though I'm a Dallas Cowboys hater, a Dak Prescott hater, I do not think he's elite. I do not think he deserves to get paid. I think he's high end of just some guy.
I'm glad.
I definitely take him over all the quarterbacks right now.
You take him over Cam Newton and Tom Brady.
Maybe it depends on what Cam Newton does next year.
I
take him over Tom Brady.
Sure, why not? Make people upset.
Skew.
I think they're virtually identical, but in terms of this
Probably.
one, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's a spicy one.
As far as a quarterback, he's Blaine Gabbert.
As far as a quarterback, he's Blaine Gabbert. As far as a football player, he's probably one of the best football players on this list. He can play multiple positions. Let's just say he's a backup at the lowest possible backup because no one knows what Taysom Hill is. Even Taysom Hill wakes up, looks at himself in his mirror, and asks, "What am I?" And maybe Sean Payton has the answer for that this year. Fitzmagic, the second greatest backup quarterback.
I was just going to say, if
the man
Nick Foles didn't
who
exist,
has multiple 400-yard games, who took over Jameis Winston's starting job, but has found himself on the Dolphins in disgrace and will soon be backing up Tua Tagovailoa. He is a backup quarterback for his career. He started for a few teams, started for the Bills, but he's a backup. Let's be
the best of the backups.
Second only.
It still kind of pisses me off. We have Stidbum above Nick Foles and Phillip Rivers.
Well, Stidbum hasn't started that many games yet, if any. So give it a season. If he's still stuck behind Cam Newton, we'll move him down here. But in the meantime, he is the lowest of low in terms of unproven. Drew Lock. Speaking of young and unproven, these segues. Woo. Drew Lock, statistically best passing season of the rookie quarterbacks, played fewer games.
I think he goes right below Darnold, where you have him hovering.
Arguably has a better roster.
If you want our in-depth analysis, once again, check out our 2019 quarterback rankings video.
That in-depth is in big asterisk. I think he's going to be Blaine Gabbert. Oregon quarterbacks stink in the NFL. But Justin Herbert, you have to put him up here next to Stidham. I'm putting him. You want me to put him behind Stidham? I could see myself putting him behind Stidham.
No, I mean, I think Stidham should be much lower. I don't know where Isaiah is at, putting him in young and unproven. But Justin Herbert is, in fact, going to be a draft bust. The Chargers are clowns for not going after Cam Newton. Tyrod Taylor is way too safe, and they're going to want to get the young gun in there early. And when you look at Justin Herbert's college years, he didn't progress throughout all 4 years. He started or didn't start. I don't know what his situation was, but he didn't progress throughout his whole career. If you remember, when he was young, people were hyping him up as the next great quarterback prospect, a sure thing number 1 pick, and then he's the 3rd quarterback off the board. So,
to be fair,
he looks like
he got stuck behind the best passing season ever in Tua Tagovailoa.
That is true, but he looks like Blaine Gabbert. He looks like He looks like Bo Callahan from the movie Draft Day. I just don't have a good feeling about my man Justin Herbert. I know he's an elite talent. Some might say he can run the ball a little, but something just doesn't give me a good feeling about him.
If you need more reason to doubt Mr. Herb, Oregon has not produced a good NFL quarterback in 45 years. Just let that stew for a little bit. Next up, Ryan Tannehill. I'm just throwing him in just some guy. He got paid, but at the same time, he's not better than all the... I might say he's better than Goff. He got Miami Dolphins to the playoffs, and that roster was awful.
I think, no, he goes below. Goff went to a Super Bowl still, even though we...
Yeah, I know, but Goff had the best offensive mind in Aaron Donald on his team, and one of the best running back seasons ever. Like, look at Goff last year and look at Tannehill last year.
I think Tannehill goes below Goff, but that's my opinion. It's not a hill I'm going to die on, but
I've mentally broken my code.
No, I also don't want to drag out this very long video.
Drag out the suffering of our viewers. Carr, borderline backup, probably the lowest end of this tier. What, you think he's above Teddy Two Gloves?
He was having an MVP season before he broke his femur.
And how long ago was that, Tristan?
A little bit ago.
A wee bit. A few 4 years
I think
ago.
he definitely belongs above Teddy Bridgewater because of what he did before he broke his leg, and he still has the potential to get back to that. Even maybe over Big Ben because he messed up his elbow so much. Did you just very slightly put...
No.
Jimmy
Next
Garoppolo
up, we have Deshaun Watson.
Goff.
A true game changer. The real question is, with Deshaun Watson, do we put him above Aaron Rodgers?
Yes.
And I think the answer is yes.
100%.
Now, this man is cursed to suffer in Houston under the rule of Bill O'Brien and his Patriots legacy. But now, who knows? Great quarterback.
I mean, he threw a amazing pass while getting kicked in the eye. It doesn't get that much better
after being kicked in the eye, but we're going to throw in Kirk Cousins, just going to slide him down here. And then we're going to go with Jacoby Brissett.
Kirk Cousins is Blaine Gabbert.
Kirk Cousins is Blaine Gabbert.
He's the GOAT of the regular season.
No, he's not. Look at his Monday and Thursday night
stats. He's a GOAT of 1 p.m. Sorry, I messed that up.
There you go. The GOAT of 1 p.m. You want me to put him up here?
You don't even have Kirk Cousins selected.
I don't have Kirk Cousins selected. You want to know why? Because Jacoby Brissett is not. This is an interesting
getting
situation.
paid $28 million next year.
Getting a lot of money. I loved him last year. Kind of got hurt. Kind of got his confidence shaken. Him and Phillip Rivers are going to be a mediocre quarterback battle, much like not quite as severe, but the Bears battle. That's where I've got. Here,
are you really putting Kirk and? You're gonna get the Kirk Cousins police stuck on me on Instagram again.
Yeah, suck it up.
You gotta put Kirk Cousins in just some guy. I'd even say
Kirk Cousins won a playoff game near single-handedly.
Oh, you think he's a game changer?
I can't put him in game changer though. Got whooped by Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if he's ever.
He's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's more talented than Jimmy Garoppolo. Definitely.
Well, yeah, a lot of guys are more talented than Jimmy Garoppolo. It doesn't mean I'm gonna say that.
You gotta stop this nonsense. Put Goff and Kirk Cousins above Jimmy Garoppolo.
I will not put Goff above Jimmy Garoppolo. You are scared of being bullied by the.
I'm not scared.
Fans.
You really think?
Do you know how many people are going to watch the video up to this point? 0.
Well, they might check the timestamps because I'm going to timestamp all the quarterbacks. I think.
Oh, you poor man. Well, the Kirk Cousins police can come. Let's do a little bit of reorganization. I think Cam Newton might be too big of a question mark to put above.
I agree.
Those two. That's young and unproven.
I think you even put him below Matt Ryan.
Below Matt Ryan.
Maybe.
Sure.
Dude, Matt Stafford also?
I'd rather have Ryan Tannehill than Matt Stafford going forward.
Nah, I disagree with that. I think he'd take Goff and Cousins over Garoppolo, but that's just me.
Let's make this a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Stop.
All right. Other than that, I shifted Daniel Jones up one spot so my co-host doesn't cry.
I mean, wasn't going.
But that's been our.
You got to put him above Baker.
That ain't happening, Chief. He ain't that unproven. This has been a long video, and we are suffering, as you can see. I mentally battered my co-host to the degree that I think I'm going to get a felony charge.
I think you've mentally battered anyone who watches this when you have Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins below Jimmy Garoppolo, and you have Josh
Super Bowl
Allen as a game
MVP.
changer above.
Yeah, see, that's another argument one, folks. That's been our video. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and comment awooga if you're still watching at this point in the video.
A big awooga. Appreciate anyone that tuned in for this video. I know that we forgot Carson Wentz. We realized that once we finished recording the video. I personally think Carson Wentz is a game changer. He's better than Dak. If Dak was better than him, he would have led the Cowboys over the Eagles at the end of the season last year. But Carson Wentz did it with no receivers. Some of his running backs are hurt. He still got the job done. If you honestly think Carson Wentz isn't better than Dak, there's something wrong with you. And I know a lot of Cowboys fans are going to disagree with that. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe. It would really help us out. And check out our Instagram and Twitter pages. Have a good day. See ya.